For my entire life as a Denver Broncos fan, we have faced a very distinct disadvantage that Sean Payton has identified and circumvented for this next year. We heard about it yesterday in his OTA press conference. We're going to break that down and so much more on this video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I am a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and if you think the Broncos are going to get back to playoff competition, helps me out a lot if you would like and subscribe. So let's dive in. So the very unique scheduling disadvantage that we have always had as Denver Broncos fans, and you all know what I'm preaching to the crowd here, is that the Denver Broncos really struggle when they go and play in that 11 o'clock time zone and have to go east. So I always thought that was overhyped. I remember it was a game against the Baltimore Ravens that I thought we were going to win. And my dad was like, "Oh, we never play well when we go east and play the Ravens in that 11 o'clock time zone." I'm like, "Dad, come on, that's not a big deal whatsoever." Then I met a girl from Michigan, and I noticed like what that time zone does to you, and you truly feel like an absolute zombie. Just that 2-hour time zone change, sleeping in a bed that's not yours, playing a game when it feels like it's actually morning. And the numbers really back it up. So there was a cool article written about how West Coast teams, just in general, that the further east they go, the worse their record is, even against teams that they record-wise should trounce. And this article talks about a slow adjustment of the circadian rhythm and a bunch of other stuff. But you just look at teams that we should trounce, like times we should have gone in and just rolled over the New York Giants because we were way better than them. Even going in and playing in Kansas City when Kansas City was bad, those games that seemed like we should just take care of business and not struggle with them, we always struggled with. And yeah, again, this is something that bettors, I'm not into gambling whatsoever, but they have identified that as well, and even, say that don't bet a favorite if they're a West Coast team going east, because they really struggle with that. So if you look at the Denver Broncos schedule, there are a lot of times that we have to go east this year, and we have to play in that 11 o'clock time zone. I even remember last year going to Miami and that 70-point debacle when we let Tua throw left-handed, because he's left-handed, and drop 70 points on us. A lot of that, I think, was due to the humidity and due to us going on a 3-hour plane ride to a place where a lot of guys party and the heat, and then playing at 11 o'clock, and it wasn't good. And if you look this year, we got Tampa here 11, Jets here 11. We got to go east here and play against the Saints. And so what did Sean Payton do? I think this is an absolute brilliant move. We see that Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos are actually making plans to go ahead and stay east when they go in week 3 and play the New York Jets in New York at that 11 o'clock game. They're going to stay out east and stay there for the Tampa Bay game, which I think is brilliant on a number of levels. And I also think it's interesting here that, where's that tweet? Here it is. I don't know why it moved over to that tab. This wasn't by accident. This was actually something Sean Payton petitioned the league, and Denver actually requested, hey, we got to go east a lot. That's a struggle for us. Give us back-to-back East Coast games. So I think that's just a brilliant move and really cool that Sean Payton saw ahead, saw a schedule disadvantage, and made a solution for it by staying east. I think one of the things that makes this cool is, number one, I think this is going to add a level of camaraderie and teamwork, almost like that summer camp that we remember as kids. I remember summer camp like in middle school when I was bullied relentlessly, but man, some of those kids were nice to me, and you just didn't want to leave summer camp. And so I think we are past the era of having divas on this team who wouldn't want to stay in a team hotel. And we got a bunch of guys who even yesterday in OTA press conference said, this feels like a college atmosphere. And so we got a bunch of young guys who like being together. And so I think that's going to build a deep sense of team camaraderie. And then when you're on East Coast time for 2 weeks, you're way more used to it. And so I think that's going to be a crazy advantage for the Denver Broncos to go ahead and play right here week 3, go to Tampa. That's going to be hot, but I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. And I truly think that Pat Surtain is going to be able to handle Mike Evans. And that's the biggest worry that we have on that team. So if Pat Surtain can shut that down and we can start the run, that's not even that tough of a game. And then we have a whole week to acclimate and then bond as a team and really kind of be in the trenches, chip on our shoulder. Everybody just thinks we're going to win 5 games this year, and we're going to come out of that stretch. And I think we're going to roll here against the Jets, and I think we're going to see the train really come off the tracks. We saw the Jets trying to move on from Nathaniel Hackett, and I just don't think that clown show is going to stay together. I don't think Aaron Rodgers at 40 is going to come off and be performing like the Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't played great football in like 2 or 3 years, and I feel really good about this. And I just think that's a brilliant move, Sean Payton, seeing an issue and planning for it. Other fantastic news that we just saw is just seeing number 12 out there. And I had to watch this video like 2 or 3 times because I was like, what? Is that him? So number 12 is now Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick, remember wearing number 81 before? So that's now Vele is wearing 81, our 7th round pick who people are super high on. But he wanted to, after back-to-back crippling injuries and missing the entire season, back-to-back, he wanted to go back to his college number, just get rid of all the bad juju that came with the number 81. And I'm going to get to Sean Payton's comments on Tim Patrick here in a second. But just watch this video that DNVR put out, and his footwork and his speed. I always remember him being an incredible possession receiver, but I don't remember him being like such a shifty route runner, and his footwork looks incredible. It does not look like he's coming off an ACL and an Achilles injury here, and I think he looks fantastic. So let me know what you think and how hyped this has you. It's going to take some time to get used to seeing him wear number 12, but you just see like a shiftiness and just some speed that I don't really remember. This is one of the clips I thought looked sick, and you know, he's still got that massive frame. The other thing that the Denver Broncos are avoiding is we're avoiding going into New Orleans and playing that game in the 11 o'clock slot by having it on Thursday night. Now, Thursday night, obviously we know that's a disadvantage for road teams, but playing that at night, it's going to feel like 6:15 to the guys, and I think it's less time for all of the media to work up a giant narrative and have the Broncos have like a whole week of people talking about all of the New Orleans players who are going back home, including Sean Payton. So I think this is really good that those 3 games that probably could have been schedule losses if they all were in that 11 o'clock time zone, that we really avoided a pretty big bullet there. And then hearing back to what I was saying here about Tim Patrick, that not only is he just he's going to be a great pressure release valve for Bo Nix, but then also hearing what Sean Payton said about him is that he's one of the leaders in that room. And so if Courtland Sutton doesn't end up showing up for mandatory OTAs, which start in June, I feel really good about having a leader here. And he's the kind of guy you want leading Troy Franklin, leading a Marvin Mims, leading that young receiver squad. And he's the kind of guy who, if you're going east on a week-long summer camp trip, he's the kind of cool senior you looked up to who's going to build up the team camaraderie and team chemistry. So all of that has me incredibly excited. Here was the video I wanted to show of him that really shows off his footwork and just the shiftiness in a way. I really don't remember it. So very, very excited to see him. And everyone who was there just said you saw a burst out of him, and people are not worried about the long-term ramifications of that. So man, let's just hope that he stays healthy and that he can be a difference maker, because if he can be a difference maker, Sean Payton was just talking about just the height that we have in that receiver room and the speed that we have, and it is a different level. We go from Jerry Jeudy as a me first guy. Courtland Sutton is just the only thing he would do is catch those jump balls, and we now have a bunch of role players who can run the routes that Sean Payton wants them to run, and they are high quality. They're not afraid of blocking. That Tim Patrick, folks were saying, not just Broncos folks, but national people were saying he was the best blocking wide receiver in the entire league. And really blocking when you're that size, it's not about a physical talent that you have. It's really just about a want to. And he wants to do whatever he can to help this team win. And we should all be incredibly excited about that. So got a ton coming up. We got week 2 of OTAs next week. Going to be interesting to see what happens with Courtland Sutton and much more. But I'm very thrilled with how Sean Payton has navigated a potential disaster. And that has me believing. And Broncos country, we got to all believe.